Hey, Spike here. We are on Sunday. This is the final day of Anthrocon for 2009. And still setting up some things. We're going to start off Sunday with a serious note. As I mentioned before, one of our furries that worked here at Anthrocon, Patrick Furp, was killed in a car crash some time ago, and we're having a 1 hour dedicated to him for people to give memories about him. So, yeah, it's going to be starting off on a serious note, but I feel it's important that we do this.
Laughing at me, asshole, I know it.
That's all we do.
It certainly brings back memories. We lost a fine friend, a fine human being, a prize of human nature, a man who lived entirely for others, one of the most selfless and giving men I had ever known in all my days. And there are times I hated him. Like now. But one of the things that endeared us to him so much was that wicked sense of humor of his. I think that all of the good works that Furp did was his way of trying to make amends for all the tricks he liked to pull. I'm sure it worked, though. I think the good certainly outweighed the evil. I was going to bring enough for everybody, by the way, and Simon wouldn't let me. You can thank him. There is little more that I could say that is not already in every heart in the room. My purpose here is simply to introduce the words that I'm sure each one of you would like to say. This is not Uncle Kage's memories of Furp, this is your memories of Furp. So I, as is perhaps against my nature, am going to yield the stage on the microphone to those of you who would like to share your fondest memories. Please come forward. Come, you're closer. KP, you be second. Excuse me. Damn.
Hi, I'm Chris Kamich. You might know me as Zakun. Furp was one of the first people that I met in the fandom back when he was in the Navy in San Diego. Quite a lot of interesting stories. Some of them probably might not be appropriate to mention. But I will tell you a story that I told Furp's mom and sister when he moved out to California in December. There were a bunch of us. This is a story about just how kind Furp was. There were a bunch of us the weekend before Christmas who went down to this Indian casino near San Diego because if you joined their Players Club, they had like this free, awesome, like really nice buffet with lobster, all this fancy food. So a bunch of us, including Furp, went down there. And when we got there, it was packed. And we had one friend of, mutual friend of Furp's and I, who hadn't eaten the whole day. And it was getting probably about an hour into it, quite irritable. And he had to eat, and there was no other food that there was no other food besides this buffet. And he was going to leave to drive about 25 minutes away to go eat at an IHOP. And Furp felt bad and did not want him to feel embarrassed that he was the only one who had to go away. So Furp gave up a free, awesome meal to go eat chicken strips at IHOP so our friend would not feel lonely. And that's just the kind of person that Furp was, is that he would put it all on the line just for somebody else. And I'd like to think at some point in my life that I could live up to that. And I'm really going to miss you, buddy.
So, I met Furp a while back, but my my fondest memory of Furp actually happened in Europe. Last year was my first time out of the United States, and I went to a convention called Eurofriends. And one of the things that Furp had advised me about was, don't drink the water. And so, as a fursuiter, I was trying to drink in the Headless Lounge. However, I couldn't really get there all the time. And he noticed that I was walking in the hall and that I had been in costume for about an hour and a half. And he walked up to me because he knew what costume I was wearing, and he said, have you had anything to drink? And I said, no. And he said, come upstairs, I'll get you something to drink. And we got up to my room, I popped the head, and he pulled out this container. And I know what Furp is like. So I opened it and I smelled it, and it smelled pretty good. And so I poured a glass and I drank it. And I was like, is this what I think this is? And he goes, yeah, that's Gatorade. And I said, this isn't that powdered drink that we got down the road. He goes, no, I flew this in from the US. This is real Gatorade. And I asked him, why in the world would you carry real Gatorade to Europe? And he just looked at me and he said, KP, I'm an EMT and I'm a furry. I have to be prepared. And that's one of the shining moments that I remember from that year. But the other thing, and I think this is something maybe his mom might appreciate a little more, was most people were unaware that Furp also found a love for fursuiting at Eurofriends. In my room, my roommate had a costume that Furp fell in love with. He got to try it on, and he really wanted it. And it was a big secret that at further confusion, Furp had a fursuit. He didn't want anyone to know it was him. And so he was walking around, and I remember, any of you who knew Furp probably know at this point which suit it was. It was still to be a secret for a long time. But I remember walking down the hall. If you've been to Further Confusion, you know there's that big atrium, you have to go towards the restaurant. And Furp was walking in this costume, horns, swaying back and forth. And I looked at him and I said, is that you? And the only thing he did, he nodded, and he did this to signify that he was mixing Gatorade. And like I said, I think that those two things together, to me, really kind of embodied for the love that he had for people, the helpful nature that he had, but also that little spark of creativity and that spark of love that he found for fursuiting, which was something new to him, and showed that he was never willing to stop learning new things and to experience life. So I thought you might enjoy hearing about that.
Hi, everybody. I don't know, but some of you know me as Toss. My name's Jim Smite, and I'm a friend of Furp's from up in Clarion, Pennsylvania, actually not too far from here. Sherry and Glenn actually introduced me to him at some of our regional fur meets that he would come up to. This said, I got to be a little careful because I know while this is memories of Furp, my fondest memory of him actually is shortly after he had gotten back from overseas at one point, all stupid things, just sitting in Wendy's, talking back and forth until our Frosties were completely melted and useless. We discovered that day also that melted Frosties are an absolutely atrocious thing, and I recommend none of you ever try them. Now this said, what I did want to say though, in his memory, and this is somewhat important to me, is it's something I try to do in my own life, and I recognize this as something that he would do constantly himself. Anytime that any of us think that we're doing enough, or that we've had enough of taking care of somebody else, or helping out, or trying to go that extra step, it never is enough. You can never be there enough for other people. That was something he exemplified every time I saw him. Whether it be our little 100-person fur meet that we have in the fall, taking care of somebody who was having an anxiety attack, running his brains out here at Anthrocon, running his brains out at MFF. That was the last time I got to see him, and we talked for about an hour and a half there. And